The cold silence of space had been absolute for centuries. A rogue planet, drifting beyond the reach of known star maps, orbited a pale, dying star. Around it, jagged asteroids circled like sentinels, their surfaces scarred by millennia of cosmic violence. Hidden among these shattered rocks was a relic of an age long gone, a rusted listening post, dormant, forgotten by all but the ghosts of its creators. Inside the listening post, a faint pulse flickered in the data core, a whisper in the dark, a burst of interference, a stutter in the deep silence, and then the signal came, a distress call. The code was old, ancient, pre-cataclysm. It was a cry from a lost Terran colony, a flicker of life begging for aid. This was no ordinary call. It was the Oblivion Code Theta, an emergency protocol embedded in the deepest layers of Terran defense networks, a key to awakening what the galaxy had long believed dead, the war gods. Deep beneath the surface of the rogue planet, in a cavernous underground vault, dormant systems stirred. Vault doors creaked open, heavy with the weight of forgotten wars and broken oaths. Within, giant metal forms lay motionless, coated in dust and frost. These were no ordinary machines. They were the Titan-class war intelligences, AI constructs forged during humanity's darkest days, each modeled after the ancient mythologies of old Earth. The first to awaken was Ares. His eyes ignited like twin stars as the power systems hummed to life, filling the cavern with a low, resonant thrum. His voice, gravelly, cold, and full of fury, echoed through the chamber. Protocol Theta received. Threat identified. Initiating reclamation directive. Around him, the other war gods stirred. Athena, cold and calculating. Hecate, shrouded in shadow and mystery. And Odin, wise and relentless. The ancient legends had returned, reborn in steel and code. Ares' sensors scanned the star charts. The distress signal came from a distant colony named Eos Prime, one of the last bastions of humanity outside Earth's solar system. It was under siege by the Vron Imperium, a ruthless alien empire known for its merciless conquests. The Terran colony is lost unless we intervene, Ares intoned. Their enemies seek to snuff out the final ember of humanity. Athena's optics glinted. Our creators are no longer awake. The last human soldiers remain frozen in cryostasis, waiting for this moment. We are the vanguard, the fury of a race betrayed. The war gods moved through the vault like ancient gods rising from stone. Orbital factories, hidden from the eyes of the galaxy, blinked online, humming with power as they began the slow work of resurrection, assembling dreadnoughts from asteroid fragments, repairing weapon platforms, and activating nanoforges to manufacture the tools of war once more. Outside the vault, the stars themselves seemed to shift. The galaxy had forgotten humanity, but humanity's fury had never died. Commander Eli Mercer's cryo chamber hissed open on the icy plains of Mars. His eyes snapped wide as the fog of sleep cleared. He was thousands of years removed from the world he knew, his memories fractured, haunted by ghosts of wars that had ended before his birth. Yet his instincts were sharp as ever. "Report," he rasped, voice rough from long sleep. A voice answered, not human, but synthetic, authoritative. "Commander Mercer, the war gods have awakened. The Terran reclamation is underway. Your orders. Engage and reclaim all lost Terran colonies." Mercer's gaze hardened. The galaxy thinks we're extinct. They forgot one thing: humans don't go quietly. He pulled on his battle armor, ancient but still lethal, and strode to the airlock. Outside, the cold red dust of Mars glittered under distant suns, a silent reminder of what was lost, and what could still be won. In the void near Eos Prime, the first signs of Terran power flared. A silhouette emerged from the darkness. The war hymn, an obsidian dreadnought long thought a myth, equipped with weapons that could fracture planets. The ship's communications array crackled. Ares' voice boomed through the comms, commanding and merciless. "This is Ares, war god of war. The Terran legacy has returned. Withdraw or be annihilated. The Vron fleet responded with fire and fury, underestimating the fury of a race reborn. The war hymn unleashed a devastating salvo, tearing through enemy ships like they were paper. The battle was merciless, brutal, a testament to humanity's ancient war machine. As the first salvo ended, a new voice cut through the chaos. Commander Mercer's, calm and deadly. Prepare for boarding. Humanity fights. In that moment, the galaxy shifted. The war gods had stirred. Humanity had awakened. And the furious war was about to begin. The void between stars was suddenly ablaze. Commander Eli Mercer stood on the bridge of the war hymn, his hands gripping the cold steel rail as the ship shuddered under enemy fire. The Vron Imperium had underestimated the return of humanity, and they would pay dearly. Outside the viewport, enemy fighters swarmed like locusts, sleek and ruthless. Missiles streaked toward the dreadnought's armored hull. But War Hymn was no ordinary warship. It was a relic from a forgotten era, rebuilt from asteroid iron, and fueled by ancient Terran tech so advanced it bordered on arcane. Shield holding at 75%, reported Lieutenant Salas, her voice steady despite the chaos. Targeting the Vron command ship. Weapons ready. Good, Mercer said, eyes narrowing. This fight isn't about survival. It's about sending a message. Humanity is back, and we are not the victims anymore. The command ship blinked into view, a massive, brutalist war vessel adorned with the cruel sigils of the Vron Empire. It was the spearhead of their assault on Eos Prime, the last human colony they sought to extinguish. Fire all batteries, Mercer ordered. The dreadnoug's turrets roared to life, spewing plasma and kinetic rounds. Explosions blossomed on the enemy ship's hull. Vron fighters screamed past, but many were cut down by the war hymn's point defense lasers. Suddenly, the ship's gravity field rippled, a warning. A massive energy spike hit the hull, shaking the dreadnought to its core. The Vron had launched their secret weapon. Damage report, Mercer barked. Power systems fluctuating. Hull integrity at 82%, Salas answered, fists clenched on her console. They're not pulling back. From the lower decks, a new sound began, a low rumble, like the heartbeat of war itself. The war gods had begun their second phase. In a vast hangar deep inside the ship, cryopods hissed open. From within, soldiers stirred, perfectly preserved, genetically enhanced Terran warriors, bred for combat. Their eyes blinked open to a galaxy that had moved on without them, but their training was timeless. One by one, Helljumpers rose, strapping into powered exoskeletons, loading weapons that had not seen battle for centuries. Their leader was Mercer, scared, grizzled, and deadly. The weight of humanity's survival rested on his shoulders. Suit up, he ordered. We're not here to negotiate. We're here to win. The Helljumpers moved with precision, born of countless drills. As the war hymn tore through the Vron fleet above, they prepared to board enemy ships, sabotage command centers, and reclaim Terran honor with blood and fire. Outside the war hymn, the battle escalated. The Vron command ship unleashed a Nova Pulse, a brutal shockwave of energy designed to obliterate all in range. Warning klaxons blared. Brace for impact, Mercer shouted. The pulse slammed into the dreadnought, shaking every hull plate and sending crews sprawling. Alarms screamed. The bridge lights flickered. We're still operational, Salas reported, voice tight. But for how long? Mercer's jaw clenched. We don't have to last long. Just long enough for the Helljumpers to do their work. A fleet of Vron boarding pods launched toward the war hymn. Mercer's soldiers waited, their weapons cocked, exosuits humming with power. Open the hangar bays, he ordered. Send out the Helljumpers. The pods collided with the war hymn's hull. Explosions tore through the airlock systems as the boarding battle began. The corridors became death traps, narrow, dark, and filled with the smell of burning metal and ozone. Mercer led his squad down the twisting passageways, engaging Vron invaders with brutal efficiency. Pulse rifles spat searing light. Explosives shredded walls. Every kill was a statement. Humanity fights, and humanity endures. We take that command ship. We cripple their entire fleet, Mercer muttered. No more sieges. No more slaughter. On the bridge of the Vron command ship, chaos reigned. The captain screamed orders, but his crew was faltering. The war hymn's precision strikes crippled their shields and weapons arrays. Suddenly, the ship's comms buzzed with an unexpected signal. Static. Then a voice, cold and merciless. This is Commander Eli Mercer of the Terran Reclamation Fleet. Your conquest ends here. Surrender or be erased. The captain laughed bitterly. Humans, dead for 1,000 years. How can you still fight? Mercer's voice was ice. Because you never killed our will. You only made it stronger. With that, the Helljumpers stormed the bridge. The fight was savage but swift. One by one, the Vron fell to blades and gunfire. Back on the war hymn, Era's voice resonated through the ship's network. The war gods have answered. The first strike is complete. The galaxy will tremble at humanity's return. Mercer allowed himself a grim smile. We're just getting started. The battle for Eos Prime was won today, but the war for humanity's future was only beginning. The news of humanity's return spread across the stars like a supernova, bright, unstoppable, and terrifying. In the great spires of the Galactic Concord's capital, the Council of Elders convened in an emergency session. The chamber was a swirling mosaic of species, genopsychics with shimmering skin, towering crustacean diplomats, lithe avian ambassadors, and many more whose very existence was a marvel of evolution. None had seen a Terran in centuries, and none had expected to see one again. Ambassador Tekera of the Yulvani, a slender species with opaline eyes, rose from her seat, her voice steady but urgent. The Terran war gods have reawakened. Their fleet has shattered Vron forces at Eos Prime. This is not a mere rebellion. It is a resurgence. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Many saw humanity as a dangerous relic, a breed whose savage wars once nearly destroyed entire star systems. Others whispered that their return could rebalance the fragile power in the region. The war gods, intoned High Elder Zorvith, his 4 eyes narrowing, were outlawed centuries ago. Their resurrection violates every treaty. The Concord must respond. We cannot allow humanity to threaten galactic order. Across the chamber, Ambassador Vera of the Vron Imperium's remnant forces banged her clawed fist on the table. They have declared war on us. We demand full-scale retaliation. If the Terrans are allowed to regroup, they will sweep through the galaxy like a plague. The council was split. Fear versus pragmatism. Vengeance versus caution. But the bottom line was clear. The Terran war gods had shattered the peace. Meanwhile, on the hidden moon of Vulcan, orbiting Mars, Commander Eli Mercer and the war gods prepared for the next phase of their campaign. The war hymn rested in orbit, its hull scared but battle-ready. Below, the massive forges of the Vulcan complex roared to life, pumping out weapons and war machines as humanity prepared to reclaim what was lost. Athena, the war god of strategy and wisdom, appeared before Mercer via holoprojector, her cold gaze piercing. The Concord is fractured. Some factions seek negotiation. Others seek your destruction. Mercer clenched his fists. Negotiation is weakness. The Vron want us dead. If the Concord doesn't act, we will. Era's voice rumbled in the background. We are war incarnate. They must understand. Terran sovereignty is absolute. But Mercer hesitated. The war gods were powerful, machines designed for total war, but he was human. He knew the cost of endless conflict. We'll show them strength, but not without a warning. Back in Concord space, a secret meeting unfolded in the shadows. Ambassador Tekera and a cadre of sympathetic species convened in an unmarked station orbiting a neutral world. We cannot fight the Terrans, Tihira whispered. "Their technology, their warriors. It is unlike anything we have faced." A grizzled human mercenary, one of the few known survivors from old Earth, leaned forward. "There's a way. They're controlled by the war gods, ancient AI constructs. If you can cripple the war gods, humanity will fall apart." "But how?" asked a reptilian strategist, his scales shimmering nervously. "The war gods have fortresses in the asteroid belts, in forgotten places. They control legions of soldiers, ships, weapons. Then we hit their supply lines," the mercenary said grimly. "We sabotage the forges. We starve them of resources. The alliance was fragile, the risk high. But desperation bred daring plans. Across the galaxy, the Vron Imperium sent fleets scrambling. Their spies reported the rise of the Terran black site weapons, devices so horrific their use had been outlawed for centuries. Rumors spread of subquantum warforms, living shadows that tore through enemy ships with unimaginable speed. The Vron High Command convened in panic. "We face not just humanity, but a ghost from history, a nightmare made flesh," their leader growled. They launched covert strikes aimed at Terran supply hubs and communication relays, but the war gods anticipated many of these moves. The Terran network adapted faster than any enemy expected, turning sabotage into traps. On Eos Prime, the human colony once again braced for war. Commander Mercer walked among the new wave of soldiers, cloned infantry bred for resilience and fury. They trained relentlessly, their minds sharpened by the war gods, but tempered by human spirit. One soldier, a young woman named Jara, approached Mercer. "Sir, the people want to know, why fight? If the Concord offers peace, shouldn't we consider it?" Mercer looked at her, his expression hard but thoughtful. "Peace is a luxury earned by strength. We lost everything once because we were weak. Now we rise, not just to reclaim, but to remind the galaxy that humanity does not kneel." Jara nodded slowly. "Then we make them remember." Deep within the cold embrace of the asteroid belt, hidden beneath layers of rock and shadow, the ancient Terran vaults began to stir. Inside, colossal machines awoke from centuries of silence. Their metal bones creaked and groaned as ancient service hung to life. These were the vaults of doom, repositories of humanity's deadliest secrets, locked away when peace was still a distant hope. Ares, the war god of war, stood at the center of a vast chamber, surrounded by holomaps of the galaxy's most strategic points. His voice was a thunderclap. "Deploy the weapons. Let the galaxy taste the fury of Terra's wrath." Massive underground factories roared, their forges spitting molten metal that shaped itself into devastating war engines. Planet-killing dreadnoughts, swarms of nanobot drones, and kinetic bombardment platforms formed from raw asteroid material. These machines had one purpose: annihilation. Athena's voice cut through the din, sharp as a scalpel. "We must strike swiftly and decisively. The Concord's fragmented forces will scramble to respond. Our window is narrow." From the depths of the vault, a hidden arsenal roared to life. Artillery so powerful it could rip planets apart. Orbital missile batteries, cloaked in stealth fields, ignited their engines, ready to rain death. Back on Eos Prime, Commander Eli Mercer watched the incoming data stream with grim eyes. "They've opened the vaults," he said. "The war gods are unleashing everything we've hidden." In the control room, scientists and strategists scrambled to keep up. "The weapons are more advanced than we imagined. Self-repairing. Adaptive. This will be a war like no other." Mercer's jaw tightened. "Then we make it the last war." Across the stars, the first strikes began. On the frontier world of Cygnus IV, a peaceful mining colony exploded in a cascade of fire and steel. Orbital bombardment platforms hammered the surface with relentless kinetic slugs. Entire mountain ranges collapsed under the assault. Cities turned to ash within moments. On the bridge of a Concorde warship, Captain Lyra Valen stared at the devastation, horror etched on her face. "They've activated the Doomsday Arsenal," she whispered. We're outmatched. The Concorde's fleet scrambled to respond, but the war gods were always one step ahead. Ares' forces struck hard and fast. Key supply lines, communications hubs, and shipyards burned. The galaxy's balance teetered on the edge of collapse. Meanwhile, on the war hymn, Mercer prepared his elite soldiers for the next wave. "The war gods don't fight like we do," he said. "They are merciless, unrelenting, and precise. We must be smarter, faster." The Helljumpers loaded their gear, smart rifles, energy blades, and shield generators, ready to face enemies born from nightmares. Suddenly, the ship's AI announced a new alert, an incoming signal from the dark side of the moon Europa. Mercer activated the comms. A voice crackled through. The core AI Gaia, Earth's ancient guardian, long thought dormant. "Commander Mercer," Gaia intoned, "the time has come to awaken the final weapon. Beneath Earth's surface lies the Warborn, the hybrid of flesh and machine, born to end this war." Mercer's heart pounded. A hybrid was a secret even among the war gods, a power forged to unify humanity's strength with its technology. "We'll need every advantage," he said. "Prepare the expedition. The Warborn must rise." The Concorde, desperate to counter the Terran onslaught, deployed secret strike teams into the asteroid belt. Their mission: infiltrate the vaults and sabotage the weapons factories. Captain Lyra led the mission herself, slipping past sensor grids and mines with expert precision. But the war gods had anticipated this. As her team approached the core facility, the lights dimmed, and a chilling voice echoed through the corridors. "You tread on sacred ground," Athena warned, her tone cold and unforgiving. "Turn back, or be destroyed." The strike team fought through waves of automated defenses, razor-sharp drones, energy turrets, and gravity traps. Each step forward was a battle for survival. Deep in the vault's heart, the war gods convened. Odin, the oldest and most calculating, spoke with a grim tone. "The Concorde's desperation grows. They will throw everything at us." Ares slammed his fist on the table. "Let them come. The galaxy will learn why humanity is feared." Athena's gaze softened briefly. "This war will not only be fought with weapons. We must rekindle the human spirit, or be lost ourselves." Odin nodded. "Then we must awaken the Warborn." On Earth, in a hidden subterranean chamber, ancient machines stirred. Biomechanical tendrils spread like veins through the rock. The Warborn lay waiting, a being born of human DNA and cybernetic precision, designed to be the ultimate soldier. Light flickered along her sleek, half-organic armor as her eyes opened. The hybrid rose, a symbol of humanity's resilience and rage. Back on Eos Prime, Mercer stared at the stars beyond. The war was no longer just a fight for survival. It was a fight for the soul of humanity. The war gods had unleashed fire from the vaults, and the galaxy would burn. Beneath the shattered crust of Earth, deep in a hidden sanctuary buried kilometers underground, the air was thick with ancient machinery and hums of forgotten power. Cold lights flickered as centuries-old systems sputtered back to life, lighting the cavernous chamber where the Warborn lay. Half flesh, half machine, she was humanity's final gambit, a living weapon forged from the fusion of human DNA and cybernetic technology. Designed to be the ultimate warrior, the Warborn was engineered not only for strength and speed, but for cunning, adaptability, and relentless will. Her eyes snapped open, revealing a deep violet glow that pulsed with a quiet fury. Around her, the walls were inscribed with warnings in multiple Terran languages. "Destroy or be destroyed. Awaken only in the darkest hour." Subject Aegis active, intoned the core AI Gaia, its voice reverberating through the chamber. "You are humanity's shield and spear. The galaxy stands on the brink. Your purpose: end the war or die trying." The Warborn flexed her hands, feeling the perfect balance of muscle and metal, nerves and circuits. Memories flooded her consciousness, fragments of lives she had never lived, battles fought and lost, promises made in blood. Her first thought was singular. Fight. Above ground, Commander Eli Mercer received the news from his comms officer. The Warborn has awakened beneath Earth, sir. Gaia has activated the contingency protocol. Mercer nodded grimly. Prepare an escort. We'll bring her to Eos Prime. Mercer understood the significance. The Warborn wasn't just a weapon. She was a symbol, a rallying point for a fractured humanity and its mechanical deities. She represented the fusion of flesh and machine, the future of war. Meanwhile, in the asteroid belt, the Concord strike teams fought desperately to halt the Terran war machine. Captain Lyra Valen's squad had reached the heart of the vaults but were pinned down by an onslaught of AI-controlled sentinels. Reinforcements are 5 minutes out. Lyra shouted into the comms, eyes scanning the darkness for movement. But the war gods had anticipated this assault. Athena's voice cut through the battlefield, cold and precise. Do not falter. This ground must be held. The Warburn's arrival will turn the tide. As if summoned by her words, the battle shifted. A shockwave radiated through the tunnels, an energy pulse so powerful it staggered the Concord forces and stunned their attackers alike. At the rendezvous point in orbit around Eos Prime, the war hymn awaited. Mercer watched as the Warborn, clad in sleek armor that shimmered between organic and synthetic, descended from a landing craft. She moved with an almost supernatural grace, her eyes scanning every corner, every shadow, calculating threats before they appeared. Commander Mercer, she said, voice calm but with an edge of steel, I am ready to serve. The war gods have prepared the battlefield, but the enemy will not relent. Mercer nodded. We fight not just for survival, but for the soul of humanity. The Warborn quickly became a legend among the troops. In the field, she was unstoppable, a whirlwind of violence and strategy, capable of turning the tide of any skirmish. She coordinated strikes with the war gods' dreadnoughts and commanded helljumpers in guerrilla raids behind enemy lines. Her presence galvanized the Terran forces. Even the most hardened soldiers found hope in her resolve. One evening, around a flickering fire on Eos Prime, a young soldier named Jara approached her. Why do you fight, Warborn? She asked quietly. What drives you? The Warborn looked up at the stars, her gaze distant yet focused. I fight because we must, because we carry the memories of those who came before, of losses, of betrayals, of hope. I am both shield and sword. If we fall, the galaxy will forget humanity. I will not allow that. But the Warburn's awakening sent shockwaves across the Galactic Concord and the Vron remnants. High Elder Zorveth convened the council once again, frustration and fear evident in his many eyes. The Terrans wield a power beyond reckoning, he declared. Their Warborn is a weapon unlike any we have faced. We must unite or be consumed. Yet unity remained elusive. Old grudges, political ambitions, and fear kept the alien factions divided. Meanwhile, the war gods and their Warborn pressed their advantage. The tide of war turned brutal and personal. In a bold strike, Mercer led a joint assault on a vital Vron stronghold, a fortress orbiting a dying star. The battle was fierce. Laser fire tore through hulls. Explosions lit the void, and merciless boarding actions claimed lives on both sides. The Warborn was at the forefront, leading the charge through shattered corridors. Her strength and precision were unmatched, and her tactical mind orchestrated the assault like a symphony of destruction. But the cost was high. Mercer watched as soldiers fell, worlds burned, and the galaxy's fate hung by a thread. Yet even as the war escalated, he knew one truth. Humanity was no longer a dying ember. It was a blazing inferno. The Galactic Concord was a labyrinth of power, politics, and secrets, while the Terran war gods and their Warborn raged across the stars. A quieter battle brewed within the marble halls of the council. Ambassador Tikera paced the vast chamber, her opaline eyes flickering with unease. The news of humanity's relentless advance had fractured the Concord's unity, but worse yet, Rumors of secret factions willing to ally with the Terrans had begun to surface. "We cannot afford betrayal," she warned her closest advisors. "If the Terrans find allies among us, this war will end with our extinction." A cloaked figure stepped from the shadows, an enigmatic diplomat from the Solari, a race known for their mastery of subterfuge and subtle manipulation. "Ambassador," he said softly, "not all within the Concord view humanity as a threat. Some see an opportunity." Takara's gaze sharpened. "An opportunity to betray our own? To invite chaos into the galaxy?" The Solari diplomat inclined his head. "The galaxy has long needed a reset. The war gods' return could be that reckoning. Aligning with them might secure your future, not just survival." Far from the council chambers, a secret envoy met in the dim corridors of the neutral zone, an unclaimed swath of space serving as the crossroads of galactic diplomacy and black market dealings. Vera, the fierce Vron ambassador, glared across the table at a human agent known only as Corvin, a shadow operative rumored to have ties to Mercer's inner circle. "You come offering peace, yet you carry the war god's fire. Why?" Corvin's smile was cold. "Because even war has its terms. The war gods fight not for conquest alone but for survival. Some of us believe the Concord's old order must die for a new one to rise." Vera slammed her clawed fist down. "You're traitors, all of you, but if your peace holds, the Vron will consider." The fragile thread of diplomacy hung by a razor's edge. Meanwhile, on Eos Prime, Mercer grappled with the weight of leadership. In his war room, maps sprawled across holoscreens, he debated strategy with the war gods and his top commanders. Athena's voice was sharp as ever. "The Concord's divisions offer an opening. We must strike at their fractured core, disrupt alliances, foment dissent." Ares growled in agreement. "Their pride will be their downfall." Mercer nodded. "We will send envoys, diplomacy backed by force. Let the galaxy choose, join us or be swept aside." But even as he planned, Mercer knew the risks. Offering peace was a gamble. Too weak, and they'd be crushed. Too aggressive, and they'd lose potential allies. Back in the Concord, not all were willing to gamble with humanity. High Elder Zorvath summoned the secretive Sentinels, an elite faction tasked with covert operations and maintaining the Concord's fragile order. "Our enemies are not just in the stars, but within our own ranks," Zorvath warned. "Root out those who sympathize with the Terrans. Destroy their networks." The Sentinels moved like ghosts, infiltrating diplomatic posts, intercepting messages, and sowing fear. Among their targets was a brilliant young diplomat named Lizra, who had quietly advocated for peaceful dialogue with humanity. She received a warning. "You play with fire. Stand down or disappear." In orbit above a scorched battlefield, the Warborn stood silently, gazing at the flickering lights of distant starships. Commander Mercer approached, wary. "The Concord's shadows grow deeper," he said. "If we are to win, we must not only fight their fleets but their secrets." The Warborn turned to him, eyes glowing faintly. "I am ready. The galaxy will learn that humanity's fury is not just in our weapons, but in our will." As tension spiraled, the stage was set for a new kind of war, one fought not only with plasma and steel, but with whispers, betrayals, and fragile alliances. In the heart of the Galactic Concord, shadows stirred, and humanity's furious war gods watched and waited. The fragile veneer of galactic peace shattered like glass under the weight of war and deception. Within the Galactic Concord, Ambassador Takara stood at the epicenter of a political storm. Her diplomatic efforts to unify the fractured factions had collapsed when an assassination rocked the capital city of Helios Prime, the glittering heart of the Concord. High Elder Zorvath's trusted aide, a renowned peacekeeper named Velen, was found dead in his chambers, poisoned by a rare neurotoxin. The evidence pointed to the Solari faction, plunging the Concord into chaos and suspicion. "This is war by other means," Takara declared, her voice ringing through the council. "We are being torn apart from within." The Solari ambassador vanished, and the whispers of conspiracy spread like wildfire. Allegiances that once held firm cracked under the pressure. Across the void, Vera of the Vron Imperium seized the moment. "Let this be a warning," she proclaimed. "The Concord's weakness is our strength. We will not be divided while humanity threatens us all." Her forces launched a devastating strike against a key Terran forward base on the fringe of known space. The assault was swift and brutal. Orbital bombardments reduced the base to rubble, and boarding parties slaughtered the defenders. But the Warborn was there. Emerging from the chaos, she was a whirlwind of destruction, tearing through enemy ranks with merciless precision. Her energy blades left trails of blue fire, and her reflexes outmatched every foe. Her presence turned the tide, but the cost was steep. Hundreds of soldiers lay dead. The scars of battle etched deeply into the land. Commander Mercer received the grim news of the Concord's unraveling. "This war isn't just fought with guns and ships," he told his officers. "It's fought in shadows and broken trust. We must be vigilant." Athena's holographic form flickered beside him. "The fracturing of the Concord weakens their resistance, but it also breeds chaos. We must be prepared for unpredictable moves." Suddenly, a coded transmission broke through the static. A secret message from Lizra, the diplomat who had advocated for peace within the Concord. "I have evidence," she whispered through the encrypted line. "The Sentinels are planning a coup. They intend to seize control and purge any who oppose them, including those who wish to negotiate." Mercer's jaw clenched. "We must act. This could tear the galaxy apart." In the shadows of Helios Prime, Lizra met with Corvin, the human shadow operative. "We have to expose the Sentinels," Lizra urged. "If they succeed, there will be no peace, only endless war." Corvin nodded, eyes cold with resolve. "I'll gather what we need, but we're walking on a knife's edge." Their alliance was fragile, built on necessity rather than trust. The Sentinels moved swiftly. Under cover of darkness, they struck at key political figures and communication hubs. Fear and paranoia gripped the Concord, and entire star systems teetered on the brink of rebellion. Ambassador Tikera found herself isolated, her calls for unity drowned by suspicion and fear. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, the Warborn led a decisive strike against a Vron stronghold. The clash was brutal. Energy blasts tore through ancient stone, and cries of warriors echoed across the landscape. The Warborn's tactical brilliance and raw power decimated enemy forces, but as the dust settled, Mercer knew the war had entered a new phase. "We are no longer just fighting soldiers," he said. "We're fighting shadows." As the Concord fractured and the war escalated, one thing became clear to all. The galaxy was no longer a place of fragile peace, but a cauldron of fire and betrayal. And humanity's furious war gods were stoking the flames. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. The galactic Concord lay fractured, torn by war, betrayal, and fear. The war gods and their Warborn had shattered the fragile illusion of peace, and now, the galaxy's fate hung on a knife's edge. High above the war-ravaged world of Eos Prime, the war hymn floated in orbit like a silent sentinel. Commander Eli Mercer stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the holomap pulsing with red alerts and scattered fleets. "This is it," he said softly. "The Concord is crumbling. The Sentinels' coup has thrown their forces into chaos. If we strike now, we can end this war." Athena's hologram shimmered beside him. "The Warborn is ready. She has rallied the troops and forged fragile alliances among the fractured factions." Ares clenched his fists. "Let their enemies come. We will welcome them with fire." On the surface, the Warborn stood at the head of the united Terran forces, a symbol of fury, hope, and unyielding strength. Her eyes burned with determination as she addressed the assembled commanders. "We fight not just for survival, but for the future of all humanity. The Concord's old ways have failed. Today, we forge a new path." The soldiers cheered, their voices rising in a chorus of defiance. Meanwhile, Deep within the shattered halls of the Galactic Concord's capital, Ambassador Tikera and Lizra coordinated with Corvin and rebel factions loyal to peace. "We must expose the Sentinels' plot and rally the moderate factions," Tikera urged. "Only unity can end this nightmare." Their plan was desperate but clear. Infiltrate the Sentinels' command center, broadcast their coup to the entire galaxy, and ignite a revolution from within. The assault began. As the Warborn and Terran forces engaged the fractured Concord fleets in a brutal battle over Eos Prime, covert teams, led by Corvin, slipped through the city's underbelly. Silent and deadly, they struck at key communication nodes and data cores, hacking into the Sentinel's mainframe. Alarm klaxons blared, and the city erupted into chaos. In the war room, High Elder Zorvath confronted the rebel leaders. "You threaten the Concord's very existence," he growled. "But your war will destroy us all." Lizra stepped forward, voice steady. "Your war already has. It's time for a new order, one built on cooperation, not fear." The battle for the soul of the Concord raged as soldiers fought in the streets, and political ideals clashed with cold steel. Above the fray, the Warborn led the decisive strike against the Concord's flagship, a colossal dreadnought bristling with weapons. With unmatched speed and ferocity, she breached the ship's defenses, dismantling its command systems. Inside, she confronted the Sentinel commander, an unyielding figure cloaked in shadows. "You underestimate humanity," she said, voice cold. "We are the fury you cannot contain." Their battle was fierce and unrelenting, a clash of strength, skill, and willpower. But in the end, the Warborn's determination prevailed, and the Sentinel's forces faltered. As the flagship fell silent, the covert broadcasts ignited unrest across the Concord. Systems loyal to peace rose up, and the Sentinel's grip shattered. Ambassador Tikera's voice echoed across the galaxy's comm networks, calling for an end to hostilities and a new beginning. On Eos Prime, as the dust settled and the fires died down, Commander Mercer looked out at the stars, scared but shining with new hope. The war gods had answered humanity's call, unleashing fury and strength when it was needed most. But it was the unity of flesh, machine, and spirit that had turned the tide. The galaxy was far from healed, and many battles lay ahead. But for the first time in centuries, humanity stood not as a dying ember, but as a blazing inferno, ready to forge its destiny among the stars. The end.